Sumba has always been known for its horse breeding. But since the island had no spices, it did not attract merchants, and thus, even today, it has been able to preserve its culture, one of the strangest in Indonesia. Sumba, or Sandalwood Island, is located east of Bali in the Nusa Tenggara archipelago, once called the Sunda Islands. My name is Herman. I live here at the foot of the hill in Wali Wuli. We are the descendants of Sasar, the island's first inhabitant. For a long time, we, the people of the West, were at war with those from the East. They wanted to steal our land because it was more humid and fertile than theirs. 2 generations ago, we were still fighting. Although we now live in peace with one another, cultivate our rice and raise our buffalo, we have not forgotten our warrior past. This is my house. My father lives with us. He taught me how to fight. In his day, men were still headhunters. They would hang their heads on a tree in the village square. There are no more wars between villages, but we still must know how to fight, because every year we have to be ready for the Pasola, our ritual combat. 2 mounted teams chase each other and attack with spears. It's an honor to be chosen for the Pasola. Only the bravest participate, those who have the fastest and most powerful horses. It's not a game, but a real battle. You have to be ready to fall, to be wounded, or even to die. To participate, you must learn the rules and be initiated. In Sumba, the rules of the Pasola have been passed down from father to son for 30 generations, and as my father did before me, I will teach them to my son, Roka. Herman's village, Wali Wuli, will participate in the Wanokaka Pasola. Of the 4 Pasolas on the island, this is the one which attracts the most people and which is the last to take place in March. A month before the ceremony, there is intense preparation with practice every day on the beach. Herman leaves with 2 of his friends, Alex and Riri Aga. They will also take part in the Pasola. To remind them of recent wars, they each carry the weapon of an elder passed on to them during their initiation. Herman carries the sword of his grandfather, who died during the last combat that ravaged the island. It's a sacred object, a pusaka, filled with the strength and courage of this brave ancestor. Sumba horses are small, but powerful and resistant. Heat does not bother them, and they can gallop very fast. They are used for transportation and have long been a part of a bride's dowry. To the Sumbanis, they are the symbol of wealth and social status. For the Pasola, mutual confidence between the horse and his rider is vital. The horse must not falter during combat, and he must be able to obey a shout or the slightest knee pressure, since the rider's hands are busy dealing with the spears. The combatants make their own spears by carefully choosing branches which are both flexible and solid, and sufficiently thin for them to be light and fast. With their daggers, they take out a section of bark before burning the wood to blacken and decorate it. Then they separate the sword from the rest of the bark and polish it. At Wali Wuli, the rainy season is over. The month of ritualistic purification which precedes the Pasola is ending. To signify the lifting of the taboos, Herman and his friends are going to share a pig in honor of the Marapu, the ancestral spirits. During the full moon of March, the Rato, the high priests of the Marapu religion, come down to the beach every morning at dawn. In the water, they watch for the arrival on the shore of marine worms called Nial, the name of the goddess of the sea in the Sumbani cult. The appearance of these worms, only visible once a year, marks the beginning of the Pasola. The Rato then pray together in the village's sacred house, reserved for the priests. To honor the spirits, they wear their ceremonial clothing. They meet together to discuss the appearance and the behavior of the Nial. This year the Nial are fat and healthy. This is a sign that the gods are smiling on the men. The Rato also perform sacrificial rites and incantations so that the spirits will manifest themselves in the slain chickens. They examine the animal's entrails to predict the success of the Pasola and of the coming harvest. The life of the village for an entire year depends on this crucial moment. The priests have sharpened their own gifts as mediums by fasting and thus purifying themselves. The spirits have given their consent. The Pasola can begin. The good news has been announced. Herman and his friends get together to prepare their horses for the combat. The mounts are decorated with care in the symbolic colors of war. To appease the Marapu spirits, no one in the village has worn yellow for a month. The Pasola is a ritual linked to the harvest cycle. It coincides with the seeding period. Two rival armies of 100 riders chase and confront each other. The men of the coastal village represent the world below and the goddess of the sea, while those from the hills represent the world above. The two sides begin by observing and challenging each other before going into battle. The fight soon becomes chaotic because of the great number of warriors. Confusion is even greater since all of the island's inhabitants are present. The crowd is thick and noisy, exciting the horses and their riders with their shouting. The Pasola, however, is not merely a show. It responds to the aggressive needs of a population with a warrior tradition. The men fight violently, seeking above all to draw their opponent's blood. According to them, a man with a pure heart is untouchable. And if a rider is wounded, it means he has offended the ancestral spirits. It is only natural, then, that he atone for it. Recently, in order to limit injuries, the government has required that spears be blunted. The success of the Pasola, however, requires that blood be shed, since it settles the debts contracted by the men with the spirits. The blood shed by the men and their horses during the Pasola appeases the gods and makes the land fertile, assuring the villages of a good rice harvest. The horses have behaved courageously, demonstrating their agility and speed. They too are the heroes of the Pasola. They are the descendants of the celestial mount which brought the ancestor of all the people of the West to the island. On the main square of Wali Wuli, a traditional dance is performed to honor the men and horses that participated in the Pasola. The dance is a symbolic reenactment of previous combats on the island. The men have shields and long traditional daggers. They represent physical and material values. Spiritual values are symbolized by the graceful movements of the dancers. The percussion sounds call up the Marapu spirits. At the end of the dance, rich in religious significance, a buffalo will be sacrificed to appease the forces of nature and to implore the ancestors' protection. Men and women dance side by side, but separately. The men perform a warrior's dance, simulating combat and glorifying virility. Through shouts and the intensity of movement, each dancer expresses the emotions of a brave warrior. The young virgins of the village perform the nuptial-like women's dance, a reminder of ancient fertility rites. By its aesthetic nature, the dance symbolizes the union of masculine and feminine principles, forming an ideal balance between the mind and the body. The blood of the sacrificed buffalo contains semangat, the principle which gives life to human beings, plants, even villages, and protects them from evil. It is sprinkled on the houses and the fields so that man and the earth may be fertile and prosperous. By passing this ritual down to their children, the Sumbanis perpetuate both their history and their respect for the earth's ancestors. The blood shed by the warriors during the Pasola has appeased the gods and fertilized the land. The people of Wali Wuli can rest easy. This year their courage will once again be rewarded by a good rice harvest. The valiant Sumbani people have kept their traditions alive and will maintain them for generations to come. Roka will be a noble warrior.